everyone. I'm Christina Arangio. Welcome to the latest episode of The Real Deal, where we break down real life concerns with an authentic conversation about this crazy, messy, beautiful thing we call life. Today we join you from the studio, and I'm joined, as always, by Dr. Julie Morrison, founder and director of HPA Live Well in Albany.
Hi.
How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
All the things.
All the things. So tell me, how did the holidays go for you?
They were great. I think it was sort of like whack-a-mole to try to stay away from flu and COVID and whatever virus is out there and all those things, and it was great. How about you?
That's such a good point. My daughter is sick right now, right, post-holiday, and we were really lucky that we made it through the majority of the holidays without any problems, so I was very grateful for that. I don't know how we get so quickly into the new year, but it flies. And I know we've been talking a lot off camera because the focus today is New Year's resolutions.
Yep.
And one of the things that I know you and I have discussed is some people say, you know what, I don't make resolutions. This is just not something I normally do.
Sure.
But you were suggesting that if they're done the right way, and maybe not even using the word resolution, and we'll talk about that, it can actually be a very good thing. So I know we're going to get into all of that.
Absolutely.
But we always look back before we look ahead. And in our last episode, we talked about the holiday blues.
Yep.
And you posed a challenge, and the challenge was, what do you want to get out of the holiday, right? Am I saying that right?
What was that meaning, right?
Yeah, what's the meaning of it all? And I'm wondering how it went for you, and if you feel like you achieved what you were going for.
I think so. I think that I set if I were to say this as a goal for our family, I really want my kids to look back, find it memorable, and create. My daughter said to me years ago that her favorite time is Christmas Eve and Christmas morning because she feels so warm. Aww. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? When she talked about it. And my goal literally was that, do what I can to create that, but also being in that moment. So I also know that we've talked about pressures that we put on ourselves to do it all perfect and all those. And I found myself this year, this is great, I was handing out presents and, because Santa was my next role for the day.
Right,
and
of course.
I gave my husband a gift that was for my son, and I gave my son a gift that was for my daughter. And I was like, wait a minute. And for a second, I was like, how was I disorganized? How did this happen? And I was like, wait a minute. This doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And so I think that in those moments, those quick corrections, and just that feeling of, like she said, warmth, I think that we nailed it.
Oh, that's great.
How about you?
I feel as though I had two wins, the real meaning, right? What do you want to take away from this? For one thing, my faith's always been important to me, and it gets so crazy. And sometimes I feel like it's Christmas. And for me, it's, not forgetting to keep Christ in Christmas. That was in my head. So that for me meant going to church together.
Sure.
And I really wanted to do that as a family because I appreciate that time together, and I feel like I'm focused on what it really means for my family. So even though we had to travel the next day, we were able to pull it off. And that was in my mind. I made sure I told everyone, here's when we're going to Mass. This is the time. It was crazy. There was no parking. We took 2 cars, but we got there and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful service.
Great.
So I was very pleased about that. And then the other thing was just, real meaning, right? So being with your family. Yeah. Being with your family. So we traveled to see my husband's family after seeing mine. And we'd only get to see each other every other year usually.
Wow. Yeah.
So you really, you want to have that time where you're just having quality. And we sat around and just, chatted for a long time in front of the fireplace and catching up and did fun things like Christmas bingo and cornhole. But that was quality time. Yeah. So despite those moments that felt kind of nutty for me, there were those good pieces where I was like, okay, this is what I was going for.
This is it.
So that was a win. That was a win.
Great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we want to talk now about resolutions and looking ahead. And tell me first, for people, why is it a good idea? Because I know some people feel pressure, like, oh, I don't do resolutions. I don't do it. What is a good reason to do this? And then, of course, doing it right. Right.
So I think that what we want to recognize is resolutions or goals set in the beginning of the year that are just outcome driven aren't necessarily the best. And the reason for that is I think some of the people avoid, I don't set resolutions because most of the time is they don't want to fail at them. I don't want to set myself up for
failure.
But if we can add sort of meaning to those outcomes, meaning to those goals or resolutions, they seem driven in a different way. And so my best recommendation, and I hope people will consider this, is to make sure that we're setting resolutions based on what is quality of life, right? What improves your quality of life? And that means you have to do a little introspection to figure out, well, what does that mean for me? So you have to know how to sort of take a deeper look at, what is this about for me? What am I looking for? Am I looking for change? Am I looking to accentuate something more that I've been doing? Like what would give me quality? And quality of life really is driven on value. What do I value? And appreciate sort of the most in my life, and versus this outcome-driven stuff, because you can go all over, social media and scroll around, and everybody's, on vibration plates and LED masks and, whatever else they're doing. Or you can think about why. So my recommendation is, even if there's those changes, right? People, the biggest one is fitness, right?
I want to lose weight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the way I would look at that differently, right? So say somebody has struggled with their weight for a bit and they used to enjoy hiking with their family. If their quality of life would be improved because they value their time with their family, you start there. I value my time with my family. I have missed being able to go on hikes with my family. We used to do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that because my knees hurt. If I lost some weight, my knees wouldn't hurt as bad. I'm setting a goal to work towards that, not because of weight loss. Weight loss is part of getting me to be able to go on these walks with my family or hikes, whatever it is, on this with my family, because the value is the family time, not the weight loss.
Gotcha.
And that's the important piece, because outcomes that are driven around, yes, I did this, or no, I didn't, that's just about a thing. Once I meet that, then what? There's no value, no purpose, and that's where people fall off.
So is it easier to achieve if you put that focus on the quality of life? Because yes, you see some people just say, yes, if I lose weight, everything's going to be better. But if you say, okay, which is, we all know, there'll be the next thing that pops up, even if you achieve the goal initially. The other piece of it, though, is, just in general, I'll be there for my family more often. If I'm healthy, then I'm more likely to have more time with my family. But there's still that payoff,
exactly,
right?
And actually mean it. So here's the thing. All of us know that if you're healthy, the likelihood is you increase longevity with your family. Okay, great. But really making sure that you've done some introspection around, what is my quality of life? What drives me? So for example, you start to ask yourself questions like, what would I grieve the most if I lost it? On my worst day, this is one of the better questions for quality of life. On my absolute worst day, what would make it livable? What makes my life livable? What are the things that, who do I see myself as, and what are those values that I have, and how can I use those values?
Explain that for me a little bit more. So, okay, on my worst day, my gosh, my worst day is losing somebody close to me. So how do you mean, what do we take from that?
So for example, if you have lost a dear friend, you still have to go home to your family. And that family makes your life livable.
I see.
So you have to, what is the thing that on my worst day, if I suffered a loss, what would keep me going? The rest of the people, those relationships. And if you're pushed, you have a hierarchy. You have those things that really kind of connect you to your life.
Sure.
And so the point being, very quickly you start to identify what my non-negotiables are. And maybe that's taking care of your family or your close friends, or what is that circle? And so that's kind of the messaging, to sort of get in touch with what is at my fabric the most meaningful.
I know one of the things you mentioned was setting SMART goals.
Yes.
And we want to break that down a little bit.
Yep.
But we're going to take a little break here as we talk more in just a moment.
Yes.
So there's a lot more coming up from The Real Deal, and we'll tell you about those SMART goals and how you can set them. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to our latest episode of The Real Deal, where we are talking about setting New Year's resolutions the right way. And I'm joined always by Dr. Julie Morrison from HPA Live Well. Always great to have you a part of these conversations. Certainly couldn't do it without you, Julie. And I know that this is something that so many of us think about doing, and then, as you said, a lot of times it just falls off. We feel like we have failed, and we don't want to fail. But if you set them the right way, you're more likely to achieve.
Right. And this isn't just for resolutions. This is goals in general, right? If we want to be successful, learning how to do that so that we can build on those successes. The best way to have someone fall off is to not be able to stay encouraged by success.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, success asks for more.
Of course, so true. So there are SMART goals that you suggest we set. Right. And it isn't just, a phrase. It's also an acronym in this case. Right. So talk to us a little bit about the acronym and how we can go ahead and do this correctly.
Okay, so SMART goals, exactly. So first of all, it is smart to set SMART goals. It's a great way to kind of remember that, right? Yeah. And it is not smart to not do these few things. So it's broken down into this. So S stands for specific. When you set a goal, and I'm gonna keep talking about that, right? Resolutions, goals, whatever.
Sure.
S is specific. We want to be specific about our goal. What is it exactly we're trying to attain, right? Then we want to talk about something, the M is measurable. How do we measure that change or that thing we are going to do? Because we want to make sure that it has been objectified, right? We have said exactly what we want to do because we want to be able to measure success. Okay. The A, attainable. If somebody's going to sit there and say, well, I am going to be able to climb Mount Everest, but I'm lucky if I get 5 minutes on the treadmill walking on a flat surface, you might not be there this year.
Not very attainable.
Maybe not attainable, right? So the A is really, really important. Now, that doesn't mean that when you have this lofty idea, it doesn't mean you're never going to get there. But you want the goals to slowly get you there, right? So we don't start off as something that's not attainable, something that's really important to consider. Yeah. Going along with that, we want it to be realistic. It is reasonable and realistic to set this specific goal. It's also related to our initial goal, right? And we can walk through what some might look like. Okay. But it's related, right? It makes sense that I would set this specific goal. And then it's time specific, T, right? That T is, it's timely, right? We know when we start, when we end, have we been successful? And then we can move from there. So it's really, really important for outcomes because you can watch and see, okay, I was able to accomplish this. Now let's see what happens. The other thing is, you may say, I am going to do this for 1 week. Yeah. That may be your time specific, right? You may look back and say, okay, I did it for a week. I wonder if I could do it for another week. Okay, I'm gonna set another goal, and that's what I'm gonna do here. And maybe I'm gonna add some of this or add some of that, but I'm going to do it in a specific fashion. It's making me think about, we're having a guest in tomorrow talking about their success in quitting smoking. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And that just seems like, smaller, I made it this far. I was able to go this, but then, like you said, very measurable, very attainable, broken down almost, in depending upon what the goal is, I guess. Is that fair to say? Well, because what you also want to recognize, take that person who's looking to stop smoking, you have to maintain motivation to make this change. Yeah. The best way, again, to fall off that motivation is to not have success. But you're not going to have success if it's not attainable, if it's not directly measured in a way that you can say, yes, I accomplished it, or no, I didn't. Yeah. So those are the reasons that we really dig into that. And again, they build on each other. So if you say we're trying to lose weight for hopefully the quality of life reason, right? So you can go on those hikes with the family. That was an example that you used. Right. Could you even use that measure, say, I'm going for 5 pounds? So here's... Yes or no? So, and you know what I do, right? So we do a lot of our work at Live Well is around eating disorders. Yes. So when I talk to people about losing weight or weight changes, what I really never want to do is identify, I have to lose X amount of weight. Okay. Because the reason we always have a problem with that is because it's not around behavior change. Like, we understand that, for our example, somebody who it would be good for their health to lose weight, healthy for their knees, but their motivator, their quality of life measure is so that they can be in their lives with their family. that is what is going to feel rewarding. And I'm not going to say, yes, I was good enough, or no, I wasn't good enough because I attained my goal. Instead, it's, I am doing this towards this bigger, more purpose-driven goal that I have. And so the challenge around this is that, and with weight loss, and this is just sort of my buyer beware, people can set out to be, quote, healthy, right? I want to be healthier, and therefore I've set these weight loss challenges. The problem with that is that even with these SMART goals, then another one gets set, and another one, and another one. And so when people are setting these goals, I want people to do it in a reasonable, but also a healthy way.
You know that from such an important perspective too, with everything you do with eating disorders, because yeah, it's easy to say I'm going to lose 5 or 10 pounds, but A, how did you get there? And B, are you really healthy because of it? And what you know is that so often it's not the case.
Well, and I think, again, it forces you to really question, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Is it because you are really valuing weight, shape, size, and maybe body image? Or is it really that you want to go out with your friends? Is it, or with your family, or be active? You know, what is it that's really driving this? Because the problem is, we have to take a bigger picture on what's driving this, and the purpose and the quality of life stuff. Because if people think they're going to lose weight and their lives are going to be so much better, I promise you that's not the case.
No.
Instead, people will be able to do whatever they couldn't do maybe physically because they, for a health reason, needed to lose weight. When we pair weight loss, which it's good that we're talking about this because it's the #1 resolution.
It
right?
is.
Going to the gym or losing weight. What we want to recognize is that you need to know what you're chasing first. That's the worry, right? If someone, for example, is saying, I value being social, being with people, I feel lonely. And what would make my life more livable is to be with other people. I don't go out because I don't feel good about my body. I am now going to change my weight. Here's the problem. I've now assigned any weight loss with the fact that now people want to hang out with me. Doesn't that say that if I gain a little bit of weight, I risk this thing that matters to me?
Right.
Instead, we want to recognize that I value being with other people. That's my value. So while I may be going about this to get healthy and maybe lose some weight, we also want to recognize all of the other reasons that we're staying connected in ways that we're engaging with people, things that are about us versus how we look or weight, shape, and size. We have to hold on to those things, or else all we're doing is checking a thing off a list. We're motivating towards outcome and not purpose, and that something will go awry.
Absolutely. Let's talk about good examples then of setting SMART goals.
Okay.
We talked about one on air about like being in touch with mom more.
Yeah, right. We talked about that. So
is that a good...
let's use that for example. So let's say and the reason we brought it up was we were reflecting back on the holidays. So one of the things we know, especially for women, is that they do a lot of sort of retrospective looks of, man, you know, this holiday could have been better if, right? And so our quality of life statement, what makes your life livable, valued, purposeful? Maybe someone says family. And I feel like if I had an improved relationship with my mother, or I communicated with her more, that come next holiday, I wouldn't have such a strained Christmas dinner. Let's just say that. Because maybe if that bothered me and I want to change this, and I want to change it not because I didn't like being bothered, but because I missed the connection. Okay, so I value connection. I'm going to set my SMART goal. So I'm going to be specific.
Okay.
I am going to talk to my mother more this year. That is specific. More as in what? I am going to talk to my mother once a week. There's your specific.
Measurable and specific.
And measurable, right?
Okay.
So now I know I'm increasing how much I'm talking to my mom from usual. I've got something measurable, which is once a week. So I know I have 7 days to accomplish this task.
Right, you can do this.
Right? It's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's attainable. Do I have 20 minutes in my day? Can I add 20 minutes in my week to talk to my mom?
Of course.
Yep, attainable.
Yeah.
Is it realistic? Absolutely, right? For whatever reasons. And is it, you know, timely and time related and yes, right? Like you could go through all the ways that gets measured and it seems appropriate. And so that is an example of something very small that over time, now it starts to be something that back in December of 2025, I really felt like when I saw my mom for the first time this month for Christmas, I felt disconnected and I was a little jealous of how close she was with her friends or how close she was with and I wanted that.
Yeah.
And so I took some time and I got myself there. Purpose-driven. I'm connected. I value my mom. What would I grieve so much if I lost that?
Yeah.
Okay, she's on that list. That's important to me. Okay, this is purpose-driven. Now let's fill in the gaps of how can I slowly get there. Maybe a goal over time that changes is now I've talked to my mom once a week. We're talking a lot. Now we're going out for lunch.
Yeah,
now
we're gonna have a cup of coffee together.
Do that. And now, oh my gosh, maybe I'm gonna go visit her for a weekend. And so those things can change over time.
And can build. They can build one on the other.
But right now it's not really realistic.
Sure.
For me to say I'm going to go visit my mom once a week
Yeah.
because, frankly, I don't know what I'm going to talk to her about because I feel a little disconnected. Okay, that's not
Right, right.
reasonable. We have to start smaller.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay to use the holiday stress and the history of the year to inform us on how I'd like to see this year go.
Well, that's the reflective piece.
Yes.
Because everything seems to be, you reflect on all of it during the
Yes.
holiday. I would assume it makes sense to write this down, right? Is
Yes.
that helpful?
Yep, absolutely. So we recommend that all the time,
Yeah.
right? So we do SMART goals all day long with patients, and frankly, it's sort of like setting our goals as treatment team and things like it because it works.
Yeah.
If you think about it, a coach does it with a practice plan. You know, everybody is looking for those measurable, because then I know what else I need to do.
Yeah.
And so it is something good to write down, something super easy and basic, journaling. The only thing I would say is paper journals are susceptible to somebody else's sticky fingers. So if you want this to be private and this is about you,
Yeah.
put it in your phone, put it somewhere where you can keep it private so that you can build this for yourself. This is private for you.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, not as good an
That
idea to write it
said,
down anymore.
sometimes if you share your goals with someone else,
That can be helpful too.
absolutely, accountability.
Yeah. Do a lot of goals like work together in terms of paired goals? Like, do you do that a lot?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
say you and your partner used to really enjoy quality of time together
Yeah.
that was going out to dinner every week.
Right.
Well, listen, life got crazy, all of those things, but collectively we've decided we're not going to go out to dinner. It's not attainable, right? It's not realistic to go every week, but maybe once a month we can go out to dinner.
Right.
Collectively,
Okay.
we are going to work on, because I can't go out to dinner with us by myself.
That's not gonna
Right? So we're going to work together on that
Right.
because that's sort of a joint goal. Or if there's something that, listen, it's hard to motivate for healthy exercise, and having your partner go for a walk with you after dinner might be nice, but have it value driven.
Okay.
It gives us a chance to connect.
Right.
It's because our health is, important, and we value that because
We're talking more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is so important to have that communication. All right, so the real challenge this week is pretty easy. I mean, it's easy.
It's easy said.
Yes,
Yeah.
and hard to do. Because we were talking before this, I'm thinking, okay, I have a couple of thoughts in my head, but
Right.
I have to,
Right.
I'll write it down and then throw out the paper. No.
Talk about big
Then put it in my
accountability.
phone.
Next time we come back and you tell everybody
Jeez.
what's going to happen.
Right, and then we got to see how that goes.
That's right.
But yeah, so set a quality of life, attainable, SMART goal.
Yeah.
That's our challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And take a minute to really sit and ask yourself those questions. Get in touch a little bit of quality of life, right? Because it's not about stuff.
Right.
It's not, none of that fixes those things. On my worst day, what would make things livable? That is where you focus.
Okay. Yeah, quality of life is ultimately what's going to make you happy. That's your quality of life, right? Is that fair to say?
It's not necessarily going to always make you happy. It's going to fill you up.
Okay.
And I think that some of the things that, how many times your kids fill you up, but they're not making you happy, and right? I love you, but knock it off. It's that no matter what, this drives me.
Okay.
I will show up no matter what because of this.
Because of this.
Even on my worst day.
Thanks so much. Appreciate the conversation as always.
Absolutely.
And I'm so curious to see what we say next week for our SMART
Agreed.
goal. That's all we have in terms of our time for the latest episode of The Real Deal, but we'll be back next week and we'll talk about what we came up with for our SMART goals. Thanks for watching, everybody.